On December 10th, 1948, in the aftermath of World War II, the newly formed United Nations wanted to make a bold statement to counter all the atrocities the world had just witnessed. The previous decade had been almost non-stop genocide and devastation brought on by the Nazi doctrine of intolerance. And so the UN drafted a first ever Universal Declaration of Human Rights in an effort to set a new tone for the future. That's what we'll be talking about in today's video. I'm Sovereign Man analyst and writer Joe Jarvis. Like this video, join the discussion in the comments, and please subscribe and hit that little notifications bell so that you'll be notified anytime new content comes out. In the very first article of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the document states, "All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status." This is obviously a wonderful idea. Race, gender, sexuality, etc. should be irrelevant characteristics. Yet in modern woke society, these are the only characteristics that matter. It has become so ridiculous, in fact, that woke leaders now talk openly about segregation, separate schools, separate dormitories, etc. for black students and white students. So this very basic human right to be treated as a person and not a color has been thrown out the window. But the contradictions to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights don't stop there. Article 12, for example, states, "No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation." Of course, this human right doesn't apply in the eyes of the Twitter mob, which sees fit to destroy anyone's life and reputation for having a different opinion. Then there's Article 13, which states, "Everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state. 2. Everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his country, unless there's a virus on the loose with a 99% chance of survival." Practically every government on Earth used COVID-19 as an excuse to lock citizens in their homes or require a valid excuse to travel more than 5 kilometers from home. Many closed their borders and prevented people from leaving the country. So much for freedom of movement. Article 17 says, "No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his property." But in the name of COVID-19, it became perfectly fine for a Colorado county, for example, to ban non-resident homeowners from their own property. Also, civil asset forfeiture has been a direct affront to this right to not be deprived of your property, plus Article 11, the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Article 18 of the Declaration on Human Rights says, "Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion." This apparently didn't apply to the Jewish population of New York City, which was restricted from attending synagogue and sending their kids to private religious schools, also in the name of COVID. It also didn't apply when police showed up at church services in the UK and Canada to shut down Mass on Easter Sunday. Article 19 says everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. But this basic human right has become a complete farce. Any intellectual dissent from the modern woke agenda is considered hate speech, which in many countries has become a crime. Scotland is a great example, where authorities there have already made arrests against citizens for sharing controversial, offensive memes. Twitter, Facebook, and Google now make sure the wrong ideas and information are not imparted on their global platforms, even when their version of the truth turns out to be wrong. 6 months ago, anyone who thought that COVID came out of a Wuhan lab was a conspiracy theorist, and the idea was blocked from Facebook. Now, the censors have generously deemed it a credible story. Twitter recently suspended a Spanish politician for hate speech for saying a man cannot get pregnant. YouTube, owned by Google, removed a panel discussion between the governor of Florida and 4 well-credentialed scientists for spreading misinformation on COVID-19. Article 20 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, "Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association." this right is only selectively true. If you're a mostly peaceful protester who feels like torching cars and looting a Nike store, then sure, you have the right to peaceful assembly. However, if you've tried protesting COVID lockdowns in Australia, or you were in Hong Kong commemorating the Tiananmen Square massacre, then no, you don't have any right to protest. Article 22 guarantees people the right to Social Security. Yet in most Western countries, and especially in the United States, their Social Security and public pension funds are insolvent. Article 23 guarantees the right to work, but this freedom has been replaced by the right to cower in fear while collecting free money from the government. Article 26 states parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. But today, the government will indoctrinate your children in critical race theory and encourage kids as young as 6 to identify as either a victim or oppressor. The final article of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that no government may do anything aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth herein. Yet, that's exactly the point here. Governments have engaged in the willful destruction of our rights. We're not talking about North Korea or Venezuela. The governments trampling all over these rights are the same Western nations that defeated the Nazis, formed the UN, and drafted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to begin with. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that little bell to be notified every time Sovereign Man releases new videos. If you want to learn how you can protect yourself from these threats by creating a plan B, check the links in the description.